everyone. Welcome to the Class Zero Soldiers podcast. I'm your host, Zero.exe, but you can call me Zero. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Soldier. How's it going, man?
It's great. Thanks for asking. How are you, man?
It's going good, it feels good to be recording again with under the 2-month mark from our last episode. It's a little change of pace of having a semi-consistent schedule to this thing,
It's true. It does feel pretty good. Just being online, hanging. There's a lot that's been going down in the gaming community. And I don't know, with the release of Tears of the Kingdom being a really big highlight, I would say. I feel like that's what we'll be doing for the next half a decade, right? Or at least hearing about things from it, right?
Yeah, no kidding. New discoveries, like new tech.
Yeah.
New glitches, because we had a lot of those.
Hey, some people are staying on older versions. Let's just say that.
Oh, I'm one of them.
Same.
You're going to have to pull my dupe glitch from my cold dead Switch software.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot to do in the game. So we are definitely going to touch on that. And a couple other things we've got planned on this podcast is the PlayStation Showcase. We're going to be talking about
Battle of Mid.
Battle of Mid. Is that what you said?
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the Pokemon Home update. Our first impressions, of course, for Tears of the Kingdom. And then we'll be touching on, Blizzard. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. There's a lot of other adjectives we could use for that, but just saying Blizzard, it's one of those things, I don't know what the term is called, but when something like a brand becomes so synonymous with a thing that it just becomes that thing, like a Kleenex instead of tissue. Whatever you think of an awful, evil, cartoonish company, you can just say Blizzard, and then, you don't need any further elaboration.
I'm trying to think of an evil org. I can't think of one that's even toy related or something.
I mean, what is it? Al's Toy Barn from Toy Story?
Yeah. I feel like I could just choose that at the very least.
I don't know why that was the first one that came to my head. I haven't seen that movie in years, but just I don't know. There you go. There's your evil company. But you think of a Saturday morning villain cartoon, a Saturday morning cartoon villain, and that's Blizzard.
Yeah, just put Blizzard's logo on that, and that's who they are. It's sad, it's not like
it really is.
And you can tell when people complain about it, they're not complaining about it just for bait clicking bad press. They're really just expressing how they're disappointed, and they hope that games like Diablo 4 aren't suffering in its long run or in really any aspect of the game, since it's got a lot of hype too. I don't mean to even get into it, but that's Blizzard for you. Blizzard's like that, right? All of their content has a magnetism to it. Why do you think people still play? I mean, it doesn't matter what game, even if it sucks sometimes. I mean, they still have a player base with Overwatch, right? Overwatch 2.
Right.
But anyway, we can get back on track.
No, that's good stuff. It's a good call out with things like Diablo. We don't take any pleasure in dunking on Blizzard. It's it really is a sad thing, and it's just hopefully, once the Activision Blizzard acquisition goes through at Microsoft, they can right the ship, because I think that deal's going to go through. That's a whole other conversation that we can save for another podcast once it's moved further along, closer to the finish line. But yeah, it really is sad what's going on with Blizzard. But before we get into all the stuff that we were going to talk about today, because we do have a nice slate full of topics, which is kind of what prompted this quicker than normal episode, just because so much has happened. So what are you playing lately? Besides Tears of the Kingdom, that's the low-hanging fruit. Have you played anything else besides Tears of the Kingdom?
Let's see. I've still been playing my copy of, or my playthrough of Pokemon Polished Crystal, the ROM hack, on my analog.
Oh, yeah.
Pocket. So playing that on the analog, really nice. By the way, my battery life on my analog pocket experience, just to touch on that real quick, I'm the guy that likes the kind of bivert screen where it's kind of gritty, screen gritty, where
you have the filter on with the lines.
Yeah, but something I learned just reading about how other players what settings they use visually for their games. that one wastes the most battery life. Like it does not
Really?
last very long because I guess it just, and you can actually feel the unit getting a little warm too. So
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of a lot. And if you have high brightness, you're just kicking it up. And so the battery will last me like maybe 3 hours max instead of like maybe 7. So, but
that's like Switch levels of battery right there.
it almost cuts it in half. And I believe it's because the screen's working harder to output that 4K image on such a small screen. And then also with that functionality, maybe I can't speak to the techniques for it. But yeah, been playing that, loving it. I got my 6th badge.
Nice.
So
I was just about to ask how many badges you had.
yeah, I just beat Chuck, but there's they pretty much took the Yellow Forest from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and they like imported it, like that whole route that's to the left of Cianwood, and it's so cool to go there. And it's cool because they have one of the rocket admins at the very end of it, so you actually have to fight your way through, and it was really well done. Like there's trainers from that game that they did kind of copy and paste over, but then there's also like this whole Team Rocket event, and they're like, well, we can't get the Pikachus, we're gonna go to the Mahogany Town. And it's cool because then that's like where the story continues, right?
That's awesome. So wait, are the Pikachus there? Do they have like surf and fly?
Yeah, they do. You can catch them in certain areas of the forest.
So cool.
Yeah, they're there.
So
and they're actually like this Pikachu, if you have it on your party and you surf, it actually has the surfboard, It's like,
nice.
Yeah, it has a unique sprite that they reuse for the overworld sprite too. So playing that, Animal Crossing,
Really?
New Horizons, but not like really in depth. That's more of like me turning it on and like being able to connect with a friend, going to their island, seeing like how amazing, you have that friend. I have quite a few now, like that just are so good, and they're really humble people too. They're like, yeah, here's my island, whatever, and they just kind of run off and you explore it, and you're like, you spent a lot of time here, and obviously without looking at the playtime that they have, right? But yeah, it's just been fun to kind of like dawdle in there. I booted out one of my residents to try to get a new one. I failed at getting Mookie because I just suck, I guess. I kept losing because you have to like win this little like somewhat blackjack game, with them, and like it's just like a guessing color guessing game, and I kept messing it up every time, and I'm like, cool, I guess this isn't meant to be. And then I stepped back into Pokemon Scarlet, or Violet rather, sorry, because I have a Scarlet on my other Switch, but I started the new season. It's season 6 in the single ranked, and I already got to rank 6 in one night. Like,
nice.
I have a really stupid team.
There's 10 ranks per 10 levels per rank, right?
I don't know. I have never gotten past like 7 or 8. So I don't know I know when you get into the master rank stuff, because it goes Pokeball, Great, Ultra, and then Master. And then Master is like the last 2, I think, little orbs on the whole like horizontal list, and I don't really know what happens at that point. So, but it's been fun. That's really it for me.
Tell me about your team. I want to hear what's the comp that you're using. Is it still the same one you told me last episode?
Yeah. It's not the Parish Trap team that I was using from Wolf Glick in the doubles ranked. It's my own team I made up. It's basically, let's see here, Zen, Oricorio, Dunsparce, let's see, Chansey.
Eviolite Chansey?
Eviolite Chansey, that's right.
Nice.
Palafin.
Oh, Palafin's so cool.
Espathra. And
everybody's got one of those.
I think that's it. I feel like I'm missing one. I'm probably missing one. That's sad. It's okay. But it's I'm pretty much baton passing to us. Oh, Arcanine! How could I forget Arcanine? I'm sorry, Arcanine. I just saw him with his safety goggles, because I try to imagine like the Pokemon holding the items whenever they're holding items. I'm like, where would they put their item? And like for him, he's just like this doggo with these like big goggles, like Digimon main character vibes. Like he's just like,
is it what is it? Hisui in Arcanine?
No, it's
Or just a
standard.
regular?
Yeah, because we can't get that yet.
Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about that in a minute, why we can't get it. Because
Right.
at the time of recording, we still got another 2 days till the delayed release date of Pokemon Home.
So sad. How about you, man? What have you been digging into as just really anything?
So obviously Tears of the Kingdom has been a big chunk of it, but like when I need a breather or want a change of pace, I'll boot up Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. I just started my playthrough of 3 Blue. Haven't really gotten too serious in it, but I just wanted to get through like the tutorial and all that, just to where I'm roaming the map and everything. And it's just crazy with every game in the series. There's just a massive leap in like quality of life things. So I just wanted to throw this out there real quick because I thought this is super neat. I'd forgotten about this, but in 3, when you're on the net, there's a yellow colored tile set for the main pathway. So if you're just trying to get to the next area, you just follow the yellow brick road and it'll get you there. So like, immediately when you get to a fork in the road, whether you're taking a detour or just going on the main path.
Right.
And it's so nice because you don't really need to look up a guide to know, oh, I need to get to ACDC area 3. Well, if you're in 1, just keep following the yellow road and you're going to get there. So that I just thought that was super cool.
Quality of life. It's really nice for that because the maps might even be bigger than the previous games in 3.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's really nice being able to just navigate on your own without having to do all that. Also, they introduced the counter hit system in this game, where like if you kill an enemy just as they're about to attack, like it makes a cool sound. And I found out that the Mega Buster actually counts too. You don't have to use a battle chip. So if you put Buster Max mode and you shoot them with your 100 damage pellet right as they're about to attack, you get credit for it. So you can farm bug frags pretty easily.
So everything you're explaining to me is such a surprise that it's even new because I never played the first 2. So, you've been able to follow that back along, and go, oh, look, here's the difference. And 3 is just so much more polished, it sounds like, compared to the previous 2.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, 2 is playable. Don't get me wrong. 2 is still a great experience. If you like the series, I still recommend playing 2. I think it's got one of the strongest soundtracks in the series, and the story is pretty solid. 1's the only one that I'd say, yeah, you're good to skip because it's so bare bones. It's a slog. Like I said in the last episode, it's like playing Red and Blue when Fire Red and Leaf Green are right there. There's no point.
I hate it because now I think I might download this and maybe start with 2, just because I never gave it my full attention when I was a kid because I kind of got I don't know, I got distracted.
And don't be afraid to look at a guide too, because like they are pretty obtuse sometimes. Like there's one mission later on that's pretty infamous, the Freeze Man scenario, where you have to like hunt down these like codes that allow you to melt certain colors of ice that block all the different paths on the internet, and it's super tedious. So definitely don't feel like a scrub if you have to look up a guide. I had one of those Game Facts all text walkthroughs on hand the entire time I did it because I'm too old for this. I don't have time. Let me just.
I did that with Persona 4, the PS2 version. Actually, and Golden, both with like a GameFAQs text file page where you're scrolling down and it's like the scroll bar is like
and they try to like draw like titles with like the ASCII.
Try. That's the key word. If there was colors, then maybe it'd be better. But that's awesome, man. Every time you talk about Mega Man, I don't know. I just I miss it. So it's really good hearing it. I can't wait to hear like as you continue because I know you're someone who really does finish what he starts, and I admire that. So, it tries to motivate me to because sometimes starting games is tough for me, but then also like making sure I don't stop playing a game for too long. That's just really rough on your memory and. Even your interest in the game, like you might be at like a really emotional or serious scene and then you return to it and you're like,
what just happened? Oh, someone died. Is that why everyone's sad? Like, like I know what you mean. Yeah. There's a lot of games like that I've kind of tailed off towards the end that I just kind of feel bad for. Like Final Fantasy 12 was one of those games. Like I got to the Great Crystal on 2 different playthroughs and just stopped. I mean, it's such a tedious dungeon. I just kind of gave up on it. Yeah, let me know when you download Battle Network Collection, because I could trade you some chips, because there's that now. Also, speaking of finishing when I started, I actually 100%ed Battle Network 2. I got all 5 stars, including the stupid 10 secret chips that you can only get by playing online multiplayer with another person. And they have to have at least 3 stars, and you have to have at least 3 stars. And when you win, you only have a 1 in 16 chance of getting one of those secret chips. And oh my goodness.
They didn't want you to get it.
No.
The devs.
I know I'm rambling already, but I do got to tell you a quick story about this, because this was super fun.
Go for it.
So there's 10 secret chips that are either, callbacks to the first game, or they're just new ones. And so, like I mentioned, to get them, you have to do online multiplayer. You got to play the mode where you lose a chip if you lose, like where you bet a chip.
Oh,
like
you're betting
the real thing is what they call it in the game's menu.
Okay.
And after I beat it, there was one day, it was around it was early in the day. It was one of my days off. It was like 12 p.m. And I queued up online just for the heck of it, just to see if anybody was there. And I already have everything unlocked. I have the secret hub style, which you get by S ranking all of the boss navis in the game, except for like the 2 last ones. So you can tell if it's hub style because the color is slightly different, and you have 500 hit points instead of 1,000 once you get all the collectibles, right? So I randomly queue up with someone who also is 500 hit points hub style. And I was like, no way. Like, I think I may have just randomly found online somebody who also has 3 stars. Like, I'm going to keep playing with him over and over until we can at least get one of these chips. So I probably played about 30 games with him. I couldn't even tell you who won more games. It was like back and forth, because 2 was so imbalanced. It was basically just who gets their win condition first. It's like, am I going to get my Gator Program Advanced that freezes the screen and just shoots him for 900 damage? Or is he going to get his invisibility chip first to where I can't hit him until it's gone? Or his Life Aura 2. If he gets his Life Aura, not 2, Life Aura 3, which basically puts a shield up that deflects all damage under 200. And the Gator Program Advanced does 900 total damage, but each hit's only 100. And it was like the only thing in my deck that I had. I didn't have anything stronger than 200. So if he got his Life Aura, it was over. He was going to win. And he had his own program advances and stuff. So it was basically just kind of...
It's just rock, paper, scissors.
Basically, yeah. But it was super fun. We played a bunch of games.
Yeah.
In those like 30-ish games, we each got 1 secret chip. So I know for sure he did have...
And a different one.
Yeah.
Or do you know if it's different? Or would it be the same?
It doesn't show on... Like, if you lose, it doesn't show you what your opponent gets. It just says the words no data, because you don't lose a chip. So that's how I know he got one, is when one of the ones he beat me, it said no data. And I got one of them, which was super exciting, because it's like, and I did this legitimately, like it wasn't even like, hey, let's just take turns farming. Like, we were fighting, like we were scrapping, and it was super cool. The other 9 chips I didn't get this way because that's too much grinding. I ended up going on Reddit to the MegaMan subreddit, and I ended up working with a bunch of other people who were trying to do the same thing, and we ended up trading for the other chips, and that's how you get your last stars, get the 10 secret trips. But I did at least get one of them legitimately the way Capcom intended, which is randomly fighting someone online with 3 stars, which was super cool. Ever since that day, every time I queue up to battle, like, nobody's available. There's nobody there. So that was the one time somebody was online.
And you got it. And I mean, you have them all now.
Yes.
So.
And there's a way to cheese it too. Like, if you use your save data backups, you turn it off the automatic backup, make it manual backup, you trade the chip to someone, and then you just restore your backup of when you still had the chip, and then now you both have that chip.
That's amazing. It's like a dupe thing, too.
Yep, it is, yeah. And I did that for a couple people, too, once I got it. And I also traded one of the super rare chips in Battle Network 1, because there were some grindy chips there, too. So it was super cool.
What a helpful community. I love the community being able to get together like that and enjoy it. I mean, does every game have online support, or
all of
just
them.
Certain ones?
All of them have online.
Wow, even the first one.
Yes, trading, net battling, all of it. Every game has it, which is super cool.
The first one's like the first Smash, like in terms of like balance, or maybe it's even worse.
Oh man, it's worse. Yeah, I don't think I ever played anybody online in Battle Network 1, and that's the thing. Like, in terms of like the meta game, the only games you're likely to find people playing is Battle Network 3 and 6. Those are the ones that, like, even before the legacy connections, those are the ones that had like an actual meta where people would play competitively against each other. So The fact that I even found someone on Battle Network 2 was a miracle, let alone someone who also was at endgame trying to farm those chips.
And those 3 stars, that rank.
Yep.
Yeah, you got the you were online at the right time.
Yep, exactly. All right, that's enough waffling. I've this is the second straight episode I've gushed about Battle Network.
No, man, I love hearing about it.
I didn't even tell you the surprise game that I was going to tell you that I've been playing. So I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I'm not going to spend long on this. I promise. Randomly, I was going through like the GBA games last night because the Nintendo recently added like all of the Mario Advance games, and I was playing through them just for funsies. And by the way, the color palette in Super Mario World is awful. I don't know what happened there. Like it's
what in the SNES the online
the GBA
NSO?
one, the GBA one.
The GBA. I don't think I tried it.
I don't know if it was like that in the original Game Boy Advance game, but like it was so washed out, like it looked awful.
Oh, I did try it. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I tried it 2 days ago. I got through to level 4 just to play it real quick, just to test the game out.
And the music too, like it's so bad.
I thought it was my Switch Lite screen, but my Switch Lite screen isn't. I know it's not OLED or even comparable, really. But dude, the Switch Lite screen is actually really nice compared to even V1. So like, I was baffled that it looked washed out, like you just said.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, I don't know why it looked that bad and if it was like that in the original, but thankfully the other ones aren't as bad. But anyway, I played those and I just kind of got a retro kick. So I went over to, this is what actually drove me to go to the Super Nintendo, is I wanted to check Super Mario World and be like, was this how it was in the original game? So I went over to the SNES app and randomly scrolling, I saw Breath of Fire 1 and 2 were both on there. And I was like, I don't think I ever tried these on here. So I loaded up Breath of Fire 1 and like 2 hours later, I'm still playing it. And I'm like, man, as primitive as this game was, it's still got a special place in my heart. So there's my surprise game. It's Breath of Fire.
Did you ever play the second one as well?
I did, but it has a notoriously bad translation. So I need to play the fan retranslation. I started it as an emulator. I think I have it on my DS Supercard. I'll have to check. Yeah. But yeah, there's a fan retranslation that's so good. It's like playing a different game. 2 is a lot different from 1 mechanically, though. So.
In a good way?
Not really.
Different.
It's kind of like Goldilocks when it comes to the Breath of Fire games and how they handle like the dragon transformations. In Breath of Fire 1, it was too overpowered. You spend the AP once, transform your dragon, and you're just permanently a dragon for the rest of the battle. Too overpowered. In Breath of Fire 2, it's too underpowered. You have to spend all this AP to summon a dragon, and it's just a one-time attack. And that's it. And then you have to do it again if you want. It was so silly.
It should be Dynamax like 3 turns or something at least.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing. They overcompensated for overpowered. And then 3 is where they got it just right, where you can transform into a dragon, which would cost you, ability points. But then every turn, it would sap half of whatever the ability points were used to transform in the first place. So if you took 30 to transform, every turn you would lose 15, which was a perfect balance because you could still keep it as long as you had AP. So if you had a really strong transformation, you're probably not going to stay that way for long because it's going to be sapping at your AP.
That's great. There's actually strategy there. Yeah. Now you're actually thinking about it.
So yeah, Breath of Fire 1. Didn't think I'd be playing that again in 2023, but here we are. That's enough about old games, though. I've spent too much time speaking of them. Let's talk about new games. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the PlayStation Showcase where they showed off new games, allegedly. So did you see the whole show?
I just kind of skipped around.
Okay. Yeah, and I caught mostly the second half of it. Like, I tuned in as soon as I heard Metal Gear Solid 3 got a remake. I had to tune in. I was like, oh, really? So that's where I jumped in, and I just kind of looked at the other announcements. But what were your thoughts on what they showed overall? And did anything stand out to you?
I'd say Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, the third game, which is chronologically the first in the MGS world, I guess.
It's one of the fan favorites too, yeah.
I'd say so. It's probably between that and the second game, Sons of Liberty. I am not an MGS person. I've always wanted to be. I threw a game on the PlayStation 1 at least, because I know there's one on NES, which is a bit different. But either way, I'd say that one. Final Fantasy 16 is another one I'm excited to see. I know that it's kind of gone through some changes since we've seen and been shown, and I hope that they take feedback. I've heard a few things with the latest gameplay trailers. Just some fans being like, "Oh, hey, maybe we can quality of life update that," or little things like that. And I think it's nice that people can express themselves like that. I just hope, look, man, after 15 was released and 9 is a big hit, everybody out there who loves that game and continues to pay for it and plays it, like, loves it. And that's fantastic. And it's still supported, right? It's long-standing online game now. But like for a mainline Final Fantasy game, we haven't had a good launch for one in a while. So I'm really just praying that this one is solid because the franchise needs it.
Right. Yeah, I still have to wait for more on 16. Like, I don't like the action style for Final Fantasy, and to me that's just not Final Fantasy. I'm an old school purist. Like, 12 is probably the closest we got to like an action game that I was okay with, because there was still a lot of actual menu-based actions in the game, and it was kind of nice having that freeform exploration and the battle seamlessly on the map. So like it was very much like Xenoblade. That's probably why I like Xenoblade. It strikes the best balance between the action and the actual JRPG turn-based elements.
I want to give a shout out to, since it's in the same franchise, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Crystal Chronicles had that fighting, battle, mechanic where you're able to walk up and you have a circumference, just like in 12, like of where your range is for your party members and where they can attack and stuff. But in Crystal Chronicles, it's a little bit more controlled, but multiplayer, hey, multiplayer with the GBA on the GameCube. Yeah, and I can totally respect having that love for classic Final Fantasy, and that's why I think Remake has that sweet spot where it does slow down and feel a bit more strategy based, where you're not like mashing buttons. Sure, there's combos and stuff,
right,
but you're not just doing that and drilling away like a hack and slash. You're still,
there's still a lot of stats and calculations going on under the hood. Like, it still felt like a JRPG. Right. And then I fully agree with you on there.
And you want that. I feel like that element is when they struck success, and that's why everybody loves Remake. And they've gotten so many new fans because of it. It's a little bit of column A and B for the old fans and the new fans. So I don't know. May it be how it is, but I wish them the best. That was one that it was nice to like just see that they're continuing to show us stuff for it. Like I do appreciate that. I know Dragon's Dogma 2 was widely well received. I don't think anybody even knew about that coming into this.
I think there was a rumor, but I don't know if there was anything like a concrete announcement for that. So that was a really nice surprise.
I don't know anything about Bungie's announcement of new Marathon, so I did skip that.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Like, there was a lot of trailers that were very like abstract. They didn't really show anything about the game. It was just like, look, things are happening. This is a video game coming soon.
I feel silly for not saying Street Fighter 6. I know I'm not like Street Fighter pro or guru or really anything. I'm a casual, right? But I do love the direction of where this next game's going compared to 5, and I understand that, and I do play all of the entries. I just don't go to tournaments or anything, but that seems like a lot of fun. Hope that's also really a positive release, and it's well supported.
It looks good. They brought style back to Street Fighter. I'm excited for 6.
Hey man, you brought up Foam Stars I think like a week ago, whenever this was. But yeah, you talked about it being like a Splatoon.
Oh
knockoff.
God. Yeah, it's like they took Overwatch's character models and then just put Splatoon's mechanics into it. It's made by Square Enix, so like this isn't. I don't know, man. This looks awful. I'm just gonna be real with you. It's so visually messy. They didn't understand what made Splatoon work so well, and they straight up copied some of the specials too. That's what was super funny about it. Like, it's colorful, yeah. I mean, you got that part down, but.
You think it's going to become a PlayStation Plus game pretty soon after release?
If not, then this is one of those end of service announcement year after release type of games. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't see this being very successful. You know what I mean? Like
That's unfortunate. I feel like it happens with Sony more than anybody else. Like they really try with all these like one-off IP. Like they try to do multiplayer stuff, and it just like
Babylon's Fall. Anyone?
flops. Yeah, perfect example. But yeah, so there's that.
It looks like it could be free to play, which could extend its life a little bit. You know, it might be a Ninjala type release. So we'll see. You know, we don't know if this is a game that they're going to be selling for money or if it is like a free to play type experience. If it is a free to play, I could see it, you know, sticking around for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Phantom Blade. I probably shouldn't be commenting on it if I don't. We don't have to go through all of it. But how about you? What was the standout for you, or which standouts were there?
So you talked about Phantom Blade briefly there. It does look like it could be good. It also looks like it could be a Ghost of Tsushima clone, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So I think the jury's still out on that one. We'll have to see more before really diving into it. But in terms of me, the biggest ones, Metal Gear Solid 3, like I'm not a big Metal Gear guy either, but I understand the gravity of a remake of 3. That's pretty cool. I thought Grand Blue Fantasy Relink was a pretty big deal because that's a game that we've been teased for going on like 4 years now, I think. Oh no, 2016 was when it was announced.
Oh no.
Yeah, like when the PS4 was still like, I don't even think the PS5. Yeah, PS5. The Switch wasn't even out when this was announced. So it's finally coming. PS5, PS4, and PC. It looks really good. It's about time. But other than that, you know, we got to talk about Spider-Man. I mean, that was the highlight of the show. We'll talk about the hardware in a second because that's its own conversation, in my opinion. But
What
Spider-Man
hardware?
looks good. We'll get to it. Spider-Man looks good. We expected it to. That's probably, besides Metal Gear Solid 3, probably the biggest lock in the showcase that it's going to be amazing. I actually didn't realize it was Spider-Man at first. I was like, hey, is this the gritty Wolverine game we were promised? Because it showed Kraven like choking a dude out. So I thought it was that at first, but no, it was just Spider-Man. And I don't know, it looks like there might be some multiplayer elements to it. Just with Miles Morales being there along with Peter, that would be super hype. I would be happy about that. What'd you think of Spider-Man 2?
That 2 was just like bashing your keyboard, the number 2 key. You're just like,
what does that mean?
I don't know. Just the way you said it, the tone. It was just like, 2.
All right. So what'd you think of Spider-Man 2?
Wow. I don't know why I didn't expect both of them to be in there, considering the last two. Well, the first game, and then you have, Miles Morales. We got to actually play as both. So having them both in the same game, and there seems to be kind of thing going on with Pete, with like his powers and stuff, getting some Spider-Man 3 vibes.
Anything with symbiote, suit, and venom are an automatic win for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everybody loves that darker side for heroes and their arcs, and that's one of them that I know I love, and yeah, clearly it's a fan favorite to explore. So hopefully they have good, storytelling. It's Insomniac. They haven't messed it up, like even with the PS4 port of the game, right? Or was it the PS5 port? I'm thinking of Spider-Man, where they kind of changed Peter a little bit and added a few things.
Yeah, they changed his model, which a lot of people were pretty upset about, because he looks a little bit closer to Tom Holland from the movies.
Yeah, that's how I believe in the latest remake for Last of Us. Even Ellie and Joel look a little different, Ellie than Joel, but yeah, no, it seems really cool. I love the combat. It seems the whole stylistic, take that they have on it. It kind of pulls you in. It has an effect where it seems like addictive gameplay is what I mean. And that's what you want for a superhero game. You want something that's bombastic and fun and full of surprises and, new enemies and ways to, just giving you that tool set where you just can go crazy with the character. You're stepping in their shoes, but there's that little bit of identity that comes out in the mechanic of the player and how they play. So hopefully that also has that depth. I know the previous games had to a degree, but maybe in this game go even further now that Peter's fighting with something within him. Maybe there's like two different ways to play where there's like the hero and and then Miles can be there to help out. But what did you think?
I think it looks awesome. I'm not really, it's not going to push me over any edge to buy a PS5 necessarily, but it's definitely something I'll keep an eye on and 1 year from release to see if it pops up on Steam, because it definitely looks like a game that I'd have a lot of fun with. And to their credit, it looks next gen. They finally cut the cord with the PS4 so they can go all in, and it looks good. Like the light reflections on Kraven's face when he looks at the tablet, like it's just a really good looking game. But more importantly, it looks like a fun game, because Sony is really good at making good looking games, but just for my personal gaming tastes, not all of them are always fun.
That's a great point. I know Horizon Forbidden West is one of those where it looks really good, but as a sequel, from what I've seen and even heard from players from it as well, I haven't played it myself. There's just certain aspects of the first game they kind of miss, so going into a sequel, there's always that chance that something doesn't align up with that first iteration. But as I said before, with Insomniac and their track record, I've been able to trust a lot of their creative decisions with the games that I've played from them. And yeah, for the record, I have not played Spider-Man or Miles Morales. I do know little bits about them. I just personally haven't gotten into it 100%, but I do own them, and I do want to play them. So this is one I didn't mention because I just until I play those first two. But yeah, I do really like what they're bringing this time around. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wasn't a bad presentation overall. Like, I liked a lot of the things they showed, but there was also a lot of head-scratching things like, why did this need to be here kind of thing? Like just wait until you have more to show what kind of game it is. I'll be honest, for me, this is probably like a 5 or 6 out of 10.
That's fine. It seemed to be rated that in some of the polls I took on YouTube.
Yeah, that seems the general consensus. Like, only the hardcores of Sony fanboys are like, that was incredible. Like, most people agree it was lacking in a lot of things, but also at the same time, there were some pretty cool things there. Spider-Man 2 was a big highlight, of course. Metal Gear, Alan Wake 2. I know quite a few people personally are really excited about that game. Shoutouts to my boy Perry at work. I did want to bring this up too before we move into the hardware that they announced. Alan Wake 2, I just remembered. So it's coming out for $59.99, but it's all digital. And they released a statement saying that in order to keep the cost below and not have to charge $70, they decided to go all digital to save that money and make sure they could pass the savings on to the consumer. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's just DLC. I think it's terrible I don't like it. Straight up. I don't like it. I think it's a move that I don't want to become a trend. Not that they're going to be trend setting with this. At least I would hope not, because we need physical. We need stuff that exists in the physical realm, and the digital realm. I think it's totally fine, but having it just be DLC, I don't think that's the smartest move.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Like, I think it's cool that they're trying to make that compromise to avoid the $70 price tag. But if that's the case, why not just charge $60 for the digital version and then make a physical and charge $70 for that one? Like, that seems like kind of the obvious choice. Like, it almost seemed like PR speak with this announcement. It's like, you could have just made a physical version and charged extra for it, because then it incentivizes people to go digital, but still gives a physical option for people that want that. You know what I mean?
I agree, and I don't know the costs behind it being pressed on disc, where, is it less or more of that $10 difference to do so on their part, where they're actually saving a bit more, obviously doing just digital. And like, another fear I think they might have is like, does this sell well? Oh no, now we've got all, copies of the game that we can't sell physically. With digital, it's like, it doesn't do well, they don't lose that. So it might be more of like a safe play But Alan Wake is out. I mean, there's ways to play that. So I mean, the sequel, you'd think they've garnered enough experience, not experience. They've garnered enough, love for the game from fans, right? Maybe they actually have a bigger fan base than just the original Alan Wake game. So who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I just don't want it to become a thing with other games, other companies, just because we just don't need that.
It's a little gross. I think if you're going to do that, you could just make both and then give the consumer the option to save the money or pay the extra for physical, because there's plenty of people on both sides of that line that would do either, and then you could double dip on that. But I think that's enough about the PlayStation Showcase, except for the hardware. We got to talk about this. I died laughing when I saw this. So they announced the Project Q, the PlayStation. I can't even call it a console. It's an accessory. It's basically a DualSense controller snapped in half with a tablet put in the middle of it. And it's going to be their remote play device. We don't know a whole lot about it. We don't know the price. We don't know what its capabilities are outside of remote play. We know it's not going to run anything natively. It's just remote play to your existing PS5 consoles. So that's not PS Now. You don't get to stream PS Now games to it, which is a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. And it is Wi-Fi only. They're not going to have like a 5G option so that you can stream anywhere, which again feels like a weird business decision for this type of device. It's also ugly as sin. I'm sorry. Like that, I don't know who okayed that design. Like it literally just looks like a controller snapped in half with a tablet thrown in the middle. A 1080p screen, 60 hertz screen. I mean, that's fine. That's fine specs. There's no issue there. It's just that I don't know who that product is for. You know what I mean? Like you can already remote play to your phone and get like the backbone or sync up a DualSense controller to like a tablet and remote play that way. Like this doesn't really offer much that isn't already existing on the market. What do you think?
It's fucking trash.
The memes that came out of it were a lot of fun though. There's a picture going around of like it just shows the picture of it, but it has like the green goo between the tablet and the handles of the controller, like it was put together with an Ultra Hand from Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's also got it had Wii U trending for like a couple hours after the presentation, so that was fun.
I think the memes are fun, and that's the internet for you. I don't know. I just don't care. It's like there's so many ways to do it. You can remote play your PS5 from a PS4. Like your phones can do it. Your tablets can do it. iOS, Android. Like it's better than it was on the PS Vita. It's had more issues, I will say, on PC and Mac OS for streaming, because I know I believe it's Mac, it's limited in resolution. It doesn't actually get to some of its top resolutions, which is actually possible on the Windows streaming side, because it's just a port over from Windows. It looks like it was made for Windows first, and then it was ported to Mac. So the Mac one just isn't that good. And I mean, I could be totally screwing that up when trying to use it, but I think if they can guarantee the experience is good, and I'm not by any means trying. I literally started this opinion with how I really felt, but if like for some reason it works really good, like it's just like they've got some extra sensors up that thing's wazoo, okay, great, let no lag, or it's kind of doing what the Stadia controller did maybe with the Wi-Fi, where it like connects and then like there's no lag or something. Like if there's something like that to it, this is somewhat redeemable if the price is right. What do you think would be a good price?
I think it's dead in the water if it's anything above 150. I think the real sweet spot for it would be like 99 to 129, because it doesn't do anything on its own. So it's not like you're needing to put like a crazy strong processor, a ton of RAM, like literally just enough to stream to it. Battery life is also going to be a big question, because you're not running anything natively. So you should theoretically be able to get 7 to 10 hours on there. I did see a rumor popping around today that it's going to have around 3 to 5, which again would still be kind of a big waste. But I guess if you can't it's just a remote play device. I can't imagine you would need it for more than one gaming session and then stop playing and put it on the charger. So I don't know if it's the worst thing in the world, but for something that isn't doing anything on the, I want to say console, but it's not a console, on the device itself, you should be able to get better battery life out of it. But it's ridiculous. It's ugly. It's very niche for what its use case is, and it just seems like a huge missed opportunity from Sony's to really kind of capitalize or compete with both the Switch and the Steam Deck. Like, I understand if they didn't want to compete directly with the Switch because it's a different type of audience, but like seeing the success of the Steam Deck should have been like, okay, so I guess there is a market for our types of games in the portable space. Like, we could have done something here because like people have been begging for a more powerful Switch for 6 years since it came out, basically, and they could have really delivered on that and had something special. But I don't know.
I agree. But competing with the Switch and the Steam Deck, it's intimidating. It can be when you've got your focus on so much, because Sony is so much bigger than PlayStation. Whereas those other companies are focused mainly on what they're doing, right? So, and especially with Switch being mostly handheld, that also does TV now. So. How about this? Even just another idea for Sony. I'll go ahead and put it out there. If they don't already have this in their plans, you've got a VR 2 that's out that doesn't backwards compat, then you've got this new peripheral, but it's obviously optional. It does remote play, but what if it did a little bit more than that? What if there was, let's just go with the Wii U meme, and it's like, what if there were like maybe some cool connectivity things? Like, what if you had a buddy over, and you guys could play like a multiplayer,
like
split screen
one on two screen.
Like I feel like if they just pitched it with like, again, it's a damn selling point. I'm no salesman, but I am a buyer, and I know what seems appealing to me because I know what I gravitate to, and I'm like, okay, well, if you showed me something where like I got these extra immersion, or just something that helps me feel like I'm engaging more and loving my experience more and it's clever and it's well implemented. It's not just like lots of Wii U titles where you're like, oh, the game's actually way better without the pad. Then great. Explore that. I feel like if anything, Nintendo went away from that because now you only have one screen. So having dual screen there could be great too. So, here's the thing. Look, it's not going to have high specs, but a lot of those old games, who knows, maybe there is like some offline, like classics, where like you could play like original PlayStation at the very least. Because they did make a PlayStation Classic. So they have an idea of what to do. Wanted to do something. So they could do something like that where like if you're on the road, you don't have Wi-Fi, you got your classics, trophy support, offline, boom. Like I don't know. I'm an ideas guy, so I'm always going to share what I think could improve whatever it is. But yeah, that price better be under 130 or like you said, because there's just no way.
That's a good point, though, with the extra functionality. Like, you don't need a strong chipset to run like PlayStation 1 games. So I think that would be a cool way to give it some purpose outside of, needing to be connected at all times. We'll see. They said they're going to give us more info soon. So jury's still out. It just seems like a really stupid product as they've presented it now. But who knows? Maybe our impressions will change once we get more information about it. Speaking of impressions, we should talk about our first impressions of Tears of the Kingdom now that we've had some time to sink our teeth into it. Neither one of us are really close to the end game, but we've at least had a dozen or so hours each to dive in, play with the mechanics, and get used to how the game world is, and explore the sky, explore the depths, things like that. So there's a lot to talk about with this game. It's a massive game. But I'll let you take it away. What's the biggest thing that stood out to you so far playing Tears of the Kingdom? Is it Game of the Year?
Yeah, I I love starting out in the sky. The start of the game is so refreshing, and I think that's something that I going into it was scared that it wouldn't have the same shine, that it wouldn't make me feel like, oh, this is a new game. It's not just, Breath of the Wild 2, which is why it's not even named that. I feel like they wanted to go away from that. It's a sequel. It's a brand new kind of game, right? So even in the title itself, it speaks to the flow of the game. There's a moment where it does feel like that moment where you first saw Hyrule coming out of the cave, and this time it's it's exciting, just jumping out and into the sky, reminiscent of Skyward. Amazing that we had Skyward come out recently, just to garner additional fans and rekindle the interest in older fans.
I think that was intentional. The timing has to have
It
been,
had
right?
to have been. It had to have been, because they chose that over Twilight Princess
and Wind Waker, exactly.
And those had come out at least in recent time for them, so they're like, okay, we've done enough pandering with remakes. Let's just make this one, and it also has probably some chronological, purpose too, because it is the first in the whole series, even against all the timelines and everything. So
there's a cool little Skyward Sword reference in Tears of the Kingdom 2. I won't spoil what it is, but you'll know it when you hear it. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a nice little surprise and a treat for those who've played the game. Me being one of them, I love stuff like that, and this game has plenty of it. With the enemies that you end up fighting that come at you at such a surprise. It's not just like a rehash of all the previous enemies. You've got new powers, new tools. The mechanics have been tweaked a little. A lot of the exploits, like the infinite run, I believe, like the drifting with the shield surfing, like things have been tweaked.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when they went from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, and all of the specials were completely scrapped from the first game, and it was all new specials for the second one to really make it feel like it's separated from the previous generation. I feel like they kind of did that with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Since all of the runes are gone, you don't have your bomb, your stasis, your magnesis. Like, everything is with the Ultra Hand now, and all of the abilities you get with that. Like, just changing the tools that you used to use frequently completely changes the way you approach the game, even if it is in the same world, mostly. I mean, Hyrule's mostly the same with some changes here and there. But, it makes it feel a lot more fun and fresh to explore the land, because like the fundamental tools that you're using to explore it are entirely different now.
Yeah. And I love that, because again, you have that fresh experience. Now there's like a different reason to play the first game.
Right.
If you haven't played that one, or however.
It doesn't invalidate it. That's exactly what it is. It doesn't invalidate the first game, and that's what's so cool.
It's a beautiful thing. I think that's a very challenging thing to do as a development team.
Agreed.
You work on this game for so long because you want it to feel like its own game, and having an identity for a game. It's any artist's dream for that to have a life of its own, and people love it for that, right? And point it out. And this game seems to already have that. I mean, there's 2 donkey videos. They're quite silly, but you can see all the sure glitches, but then also people building the most wildest stuff.
The vehicles. It's so fun. There's a whole website. I think it's called zeldabuilds.gg,
No.
and it's just people showing off what they've built and how to build them. Like, it's instructions, it's blueprints, basically.
That's so amazing, because I don't know, there's a power later on. I'm not going to, but it helps you just to avoid spoilers for those watching or listening. Sorry. Either way. You build something once, you don't want to have to build it again, right? So there's an ability later that does help. kind of streamline that process. So
Right.
having a website like that could be an incredible resource, because then you could just get the parts, make the thing once, and then you can register it, and then boom, you can just
Absolutely.
bring that in anytime. And some of that stuff is, like I said, it's wild stuff. Like I think having that kind of Minecraft creative side of things where you can just build, just Legos. It's just Legos in a Zelda game, and we've never had that to this degree. And with the physics of this world and how they took it farther, there's even graphical improvement in things. If you burn some spicy peppers, there's an actual visual whirlwind effect versus in the first game it was just an updraft.
Yes, I didn't know you could do that with the spicy peppers in the first game.
Oh yeah, so helpful before you got like Rivali's.
Like, basically what I would do is I would find grass and then just burn it, and then that would make the updraft. I didn't know the peppers could do that in just like a regular campfire.
Oh yeah, it's a higher draft too than even a fire or any of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So if you use 3, I believe it's a shorter draft, and then if you use 5, it's the full draft, and it's a really tall amount. It's like half a tower.
So it's dynamic based on how many peppers you throw in?
I believe so. I mean, I've only noticed that just by playing, so I don't know. I could be wrong.
That's still really cool.
But I reached, that point where, I explored off the beaten path, and realized, okay, I've done these many shrines. I really need to get a paraglider back on track, toward Hyrule Castle, and ended up getting the paraglider, going to Hyrule Castle, plundering a bit, and then diving into some depths. I went into the depths and I got that power pretty quick. That one we're talking about here.
The quest for that is so cool, by the way.
Very
I just
fun.
want to throw that out
there.
Yeah,
it's such a surprise.
That was a nice surprise. Yeah, it was such a cool thing. It's like, hey, I remember this.
Yeah, it made sense, and it was cool that they kept that, and that they expanded on it. So,
and that was kind of an issue I've had so far. Is like there's been a lack of continuity with Breath of the Wild with certain things. So any chance that I notice something like that, I'm like, okay, cool. So this is there, but there's just certain things, without going too detailed, that like
the fire, the lack of fire in Hateno.
Not even that. It's just like
the furnace or whatever. I don't know. I'm just being.
There's certain things where I'm just like, what happened? Why is this like this when we already went through this scenario in Breath of the Wild? So like, I mean, I don't know.
I have a question. Do you think it's an alternate timeline like Ultra?
Do I think it's
in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, like in Pokemon, where they have?
No, I do think
Sure?
I think that Tears of the Kingdom is the same timeline as Breath of the Wild, and that Age of Calamity is the one that branched off.
I don't even want to talk about
that.
Yeah. Just because it's like not considered canon.
It's canon in my heart. Okay.
Hey man, I get it. We got to see Pura there for the first time, so the real ones know. I get it, but at the same time, it's like some things could be off because maybe that's actually part of the story and we don't know yet. Like it's one of those things where you got a little bit more context with the DLC, with the champion battle.
Oh yes.
Where like that added so much to the core game because Link was trying to find his memories, and then you got more of like who he was before he lost them. So maybe in this game we'll have something similar where down the line we actually get some explanation where maybe there's like something going on that altered time and we don't know about. So that could be really cool.
Time does seem to be a big theme in this game too, so I could totally see that being the case. I have watched all of the Tears memories, and I just want to say the story is really good. I'm really enjoying what they did with it, and just having Ganondorf back is so cool.
It was the thing that was missing the most outside of traditional temples and things like that. The sheer amount of... So if you have knowledge of the first experience of the first game, you understand how big the world is. Now when you play this one, you're comparing the whole time without even really thinking about it, maybe more times than not. And when you go to a certain area you're familiar with and it's a little different, you're like, oh, wow, okay. And then you go to a different area and it's a lot different, and you're like, Okay, whoa. So there's like a whole cave here, and then there's underground area. You know, I feel like the geography change was a big highlight for me.
For sure.
I love seeing the changes. I love that there's details, like new items, new enemies.
It's a real sequel. It's not just like
Yeah,
a lazy rehash of
yeah.
the map like a lot of people were claiming it was going to be. Like they really put a lot of thought into how they did it. And I like even the fact that you start near Hyrule Castle this time around instead of the Great Plateau. Like just having a different starting point and a different perspective is just a cool way to go about it and seeing all the differences. And I love the Sky Islands. I know some people are disappointed by them, but I think they're awesome. And let's be honest, if the Sky Islands area was as huge as the depths or the main Hyrule, I think it would just be too much, to be honest. So I think it's the perfect amount.
It was never a lot in Skyward Sword. People need to realize,
Exactly. And it's still better
if
than
anything,
Skyward
it's
Sword.
bigger. Yeah, it's bigger than it. Like, because in Skyward Sword, you only had some few outer, islands that you could explore in the sky, which like had some NPCs and side quests and things like
Right.
that. But it was mostly just like the two sections of, the beginning, and also the dragon and stuff too. Speaking of dragons, love the new ones they introduced.
Yes, I do. I love the fourth dragon that they showed. And I like since, with the weapon fusing and everything, I like when you get their horn, it looks like a blade, so that when you fuse it, it actually makes a really cool looking sword. So that was a kind of a nice touch.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Did you find the one in the depths? Are we talking about the same one?
So, as far as I'm aware, all of the dragons show up in the depths because you know how they used to come out of like ponds or things like that. So it looks
Yeah.
like now they just go in and out of like entrances to the depths. So you could experience them in the overworld or the underworld.
Oh, so they travel in and between. It's not like there's one in that doesn't come out.
Yeah, I think so. I've only seen this happen with two of them, but I think that was the big change from one to the other.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, the whole game is beautiful. It's a
Yeah, it's
great
a lot of
game.
fun.
I think it's a lock for game of the year, no question. And it definitely
It's such a good time that my one of my best friends came to, and it was great seeing him. And like we both had the game,
nice.
and we were both hanging out, so we would just play the game. So he'd be on the TV playing it, I'd be sitting down playing it or something, or I'd just watch him play. Like, just such a great time.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, and I do the same thing with my daughter. She'll play the physical copy I got from the special edition, and then I'll play my digital one, and we're just playing together in separate games. So it's super cool.
But yeah, I mean, even while sitting down, I'll be playing some Pokemon and stuff, and miss how I won't be able to, use my team. I just want to use my Komala. My Komala is just sitting in a box all alone, and I wish I didn't have to have some of those members. I mean, even this Hisuian Pokemon dying.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And so yeah, I guess it's time to talk about Pokemon Home then, since that's what you're steering us to here, talking about your lonely Pokemon stuck in the box. So yeah, the update was delayed. It was originally announced to come out on May 24th, I believe, and it was delayed to May 30th. At the time of this recording, we are not at May 30th, so it is not out yet now, but it's coming soon. The one thing I will say that's really cool is they're finally doing the full backwards compatibility implementation. So like Scarlet and Violet, you can freely move Pokemon in and out and into other games. I think the only ones that you can't move back to are like the Let's Go games and Sword and Shield, maybe. I have to double check that.
and Pokemon Go, right?
I think Go is also a two-way transfer because they basically made it to where whenever you transfer it from one game to another, like when it goes to the home, like all of its moves are deleted, and whenever you move it into a game, it gets like basic level up moves. So it'll also remember them too, so that's cool. So like if you take it from Legends back to Scarlet and Violet, where obviously a lot of those moves don't even exist, and then you take it and transfer it back to home and back into Legends, it should retain the same moves that it had when you first transferred it out. So that's a pretty neat little touch.
It's kind of magical. I don't know how that works, but I mean, maybe they just have like that move set saved on the Pokemon somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. So Okay, I lied. So Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Bank are the only ones that are a one-way transfer.
Okay. See, I was sure about Pokemon Go.
That's a bummer. I was really hoping you could bring some
Yeah,
console
so
Pokemon over, because that would make it so easy to like level up a Pokemon to 100 and transfer it to Go and have a high CP
that's probably
Pokemon.
why.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'll just have to put in the legwork if I want strong Go Pokemon. I'm still not even level 40. I'm like 33 or something.
I think I hit 36 or I'm in 35, but
Yeah, you're up there.
yeah. It's
Oh,
hard for me to play that game.
I just realized Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are also part of the two-way. So all of the mainline games on Nintendo Switch are going to get the two-way capabilities. Literally the only ones that are missing out are Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which you could still transfer in. That's awesome, man. That's what we've been wanting. That's what we thought Pokemon Bank was going to give us.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, does work on the
Yep.
3DS still. I want to just say that. I think they fixed a couple of things.
Yeah, I heard it messed up when they first when the eShop first went down. Like even people that paid for it couldn't use it, but they
Yeah,
actually like patched
yeah.
it. Or they did a hot fix or something.
Yeah, they fixed it on their end because I didn't have to do anything after the initial thing, and because it didn't work, and I was like, whatever, I'll let them. And then I just came back, and then it let me access it. The only thing you have to do is, you got to pay for home at the very least, so that you get your box, because you can upload only one box at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and then the only way to when you actually upload it from bank to home, the only way to take it from home from bank is to have an active subscription. Otherwise, it doesn't allow you to take it from that transfer box, because it's 30 Pokemon at a time as the limit. Always got to be a limit with these Pokemon transfers. I'm getting a PTSD from. Do you remember the mini game in Pokemon Black and White?
Oh,
2?
we have to the little slingshot one. I love that. It was tedious, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a nice little thing.
It was okay.
It was kind
I
of
don't know.
pointless, if we're being honest, though.
I feel like I think the one that was the better, the what is it, the Pal Park, I think was a little bit better, because you could only run into the Pokemon that
No,
you let into the Pal Park that you transferred, right?
no,
Or am I thinking?
you're right. But that one's not better because you could get down to that last one and be searching for like 5 to 10 minutes before encountering it.
And it's based off rarity, isn't
Yes,
it? Too,
yes,
like, so if you have a Mew, it's like a.
exactly. You could be there for ever trying to find that one patch of grass that the Mew will show up on. So no, I have to stop you in your tracks. I'm not letting you even finish that statement. Pal Park was awful. It was a good concept, but terrible in execution.
Yeah, I guess it hurt me so bad that I didn't remember how terrible it was. I will give you that. Yeah, now that makes the crossbow like actually cool. But yeah, it's just always something, right? There isn't just like a boop boop boo. You got your Pokemon because you already put 500 hours into the previous game, but nope, put in another 20 minutes. Also, you can only do one transfer per day. How about that limit? Do you remember that limit?
Yes, that was so awful.
And there was like no way around it either. You just had to legit wait a next day, and it's like, okay, I can do another 6. But anyway, going back to Pokemon Home. I don't even have that many Pokemon in there. I know that you were weren't you working toward a Dex completion on Home at some point or something?
Yeah, I was, but then I just kind of gave up. So I don't know. I do have a lot of like Brejects in my Pokemon Home box.
Yeah.
Specifically Froakie. I have a bunch of Froakie and a bunch of
Hmm.
Trapinch that I haven't been able to move.
Protean?
Yes.
That's cool. Those are really nice. I mean, you could just give those out.
Yeah, no, I'll probably Wonder Trade them just to see what I get, and that might honestly be that's what I've been doing on the phone app. I haven't touched it in a while. I probably should get on it, but like I would just put 6 of my Brejects in there in the Wonder Trade, or 10. I think you could do up to 10. Whatever the max is, I would just put a bunch of my Froakies in there, send them off, and see what I got back, and see if that would help me build up my decks. But this is exciting. The fact that we're finally getting this level of seamless connectivity is super cool. It's long overdue, but I'm happy it's finally here. And hopefully this will also mean moving forward, once, whatever the next game after Scarlet and Violet are that come out, hopefully we'll have that built-in support for Pokemon that aren't in the main story game. So like, let's say, once you beat the game, you could transfer any Pokemon that have existed in previous games, because now we have the models and everything else to go along with it. That might be a hopium on my part, but I hate the idea that there's still Pokemon that are just stuck in home because they haven't made a game that's compatible with that specific Pokemon yet. It's ridiculous. This Pokemon's existed or it wouldn't be here. Like, let's get it together.
It's like the Nintendo parents just need to let their kids, go off and do their own thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping Nintendo kind of steps in with Game Freak and Pokemon Company and is like, hey, you guys should fix this. People are angry.
Not suck.
I mean, let's look at it this way. I mean, they've already sold 20 million copies of Scarlet and Violet. They're not going to care. It's going to keep going. But any small improvement is worth celebration, because we know with Pokemon we can't take those for granted.
Unfortunately, we can't, because we're disappointed more often. No, and I don't like to be a negative Nancy. Each game has its merit to a degree,
right?
And it does something for a generation that we're not a part of, too. Something we also have to consider. It's like, it's a different generation, cares about different things. We care about something else. Our expectancy of quality is, somewhat stuck in the past because, you couldn't patch games in the past. So there's something about our generations that, maybe we're just not cool. Like maybe some even current generations are, where they're like, oh, they'll patch it, and then but we're like, oh, on the cart, or oh no, so it's not patched. All these conversations are from an older crowd, more so, I imagine, than even newer crowds. I'm sure newer crowds are just like not happy with it being a thing, but they are probably more easily accepting of it. But either way, there's still so much stuff. Like I was playing Violet, real quick, small tangent. It's like I was playing Violet, and my buddy, while I was playing, I was like, look, dude, you're in battle. You do an attack. You can't see the Pokemon that you're fighting's gender. Why?
What?
It's literally on the previous screen. Like if you're fighting any Pokemon in the game and you do an attack from your Pokemon to the enemy Pokemon, the opponent, as they say, yeah, you can't even see the gender of that Pokemon.
So weird.
In their name title. And it's just not even a glitch. It's just them being like, it's like lazy development. Because you should be able to still see the gender while you're attacking. The fact that it phases out from its normal title screen area, like of, the name of the Pokemon, the status and everything. And it just goes into like their name and nothing after that is just like one small little nitpick. But there's so many times in battle where I'm like, wait, was that going to work? I'm using a tract or whatever because I'm an attract user. It's like, okay, I can't see that. It's like, why?
That is hard.
There's just little things. The houses, so many houses in the game, not one can you walk into.
Oh, that bothers me.
It's like huge. Like that's a huge one on the spectrum here.
We're programmed to do that. Like old Pokemon games, you were programmed to go into every house and talk to every NPC.
Every house, every NPC, even some homes didn't have anything. But they were open because they were real.
The possibility of something being there made you walk in and check.
Right. Someone maybe even showing up later. Something that you did, whatever, right? So it's like that one quest where you help them, I think in X and Y, you do that trade with someone and they end up passing away and they leave their Pokemon behind. Like that's a huge story side quest. It's like, that they passed away because the Pokemon you gave them is now here in their home and they're not there anymore.
Wow. I don't remember that one.
That's like, whoa, world building stuff. And like you have it everywhere. And Paldea is beautiful. It can be.
When it's running at an acceptable frame, right? Yeah.
When it's not, choking your eyes, while you play it. So yeah, I don't know. There's just missed opportunities there, and not to get into it, right? But just hope the DLC is better.
Home's coming out in a couple days. DLC should be getting something soon. So still a lot to be optimistic about with Pokemon.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about something that there really is not much optimism for. And yeah, we're going to have to stay on this negative train for one more stop. Woo woo. Here we go. Blizzard announced that they are canceling the hero mode of Overwatch 2, which was like the whole point of the game existing in the first place. Like it was the PvE mode that would go into depths with the characters and the stories. Like, it's kind of what we thought would be in the game from the first reveal trailer of Overwatch. It's like, wow, there's a lot of depth to these characters. Like, we can explore them. But like, nope, nothing ever happened outside of like some webcomics and a few other pieces of media. Like, it just felt like they didn't do enough with the characters. And when they announced this for Overwatch 2, it's like, oh, cool. So now we're finally getting that next level, deep dive into the characters. And they recently announced that, psych, just kidding, we're canceling it. I know you guys have probably already purchased the game, but no givesies backsies. I don't know how they're not going to be sued for this. Like, there's got to be some fine print in the terms and conditions when they sold the game to say, oh, we reserve the right to cancel features of this game even though you've already paid for it.
Yeah, no one's happy about it. I mean, they knew about this for however long. What is it, like, of last year, October? I think it was actually October. And just let people be excited about something and just care about their sales. It just shows how, anti-consumer they are in such a transparently, like, evil way, where it's like, oh man, you guys are still not done cleaning house. Like, you have people in leadership that are approving these moves. And, the creatives have no say in that. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot to be happy about when it comes from Blizzard. I really want them to get their shit together, because, the creatives suffer from this. And I feel bad for the dev team, for everybody working behind the scenes that are passionate about work. It's not like games don't have passionate, people behind them anymore. It's just those making the decisions executively, they don't have a connection. There's a blatant disconnect from consumers, from, actual, creators that are behind the game, devs and not everybody involved. And, I mean, I understand it's a business, and there's some things like that are supposed to be separate. It's not like a room. That's not realistic. I just think that's why indie devs, they have that intimate connection with each other, and they're able to be behind the entire process from beginning to end when it comes to, releasing a product. And when a game is supposed to be a sequel, and it seems like it could have been a minor update, tweaks, things like that. It could have been Overwatch Plus for what anybody cares. So the fact that it's, I don't know, it's just such a terrible apology too. It's just very hollow.
Yeah.
The way they just didn't sound like they really cared. They're like, oh, well, we just have to say this. It's like having, messing up in the public eye as like a famous person or something like that, and then
BP oil spill from South Park type vibes.
Yeah, and then there's an apology video uploaded the next day or the same day, and you're like,
yes, corporation, we totally get your sincerity.
You never said the word sorry. The only thing that I saw that was related to sorry was that it said apology video in the title.
Oh my god!
But outside of that, there is no apology in the video. I mean, that's how it goes. It's very like self-centered shit, and you're like, okay. But yeah, there's just like a lot of negative stuff on it out there, and I just do hope that the content that does come out, that they're slowly, will be like PvE stuff, but not in the engine that they created literally from the ground up to support all of the cool PvE hero stuff. I hope that it does have something enjoyable there for people that do get it, that spent money, that maybe aren't getting refunds. I don't know how that's working. Imagine, yeah, like you said, there's got to be some legal stuff behind all that.
Yeah, way above my pay grade, but hopefully something happens.
As a consumer, we are paying nothing.
Exactly. They don't pay me enough to speculate on the legalities of their terms and conditions, because, yeah, it sucks. It really does.
At the very least, we've got a lot of good things to look forward to. Outside of the showcase, even just this year, that we're playing that we haven't seen yet.
Metroid Prime 4.
Hey, Christmas is right around the corner. In 7 months.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say because we don't have E3, these different showcases that might pop up, because this is the time when that stuff is ramping up to release on the first week of June. So who knows what else comes around the corner that I get more info on. But I am looking forward to it. It's been an exciting year so far. And did you have any last thoughts or anything?
No, not really. Just going to get back to playing some more Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, even if we don't have any other big releases for the next several months, I still have a huge backlog. I still have to buy Advanced Wars 1 and 2. I still got to go buy... Well, actually, I bought, but I haven't played yet, Octopath Traveler 2. So there's so many good games to play right now. Even if we don't get any crazy announcements, I think I'll be good. And I still have to finish the DLC for both Xenoblade 3 and Fire Emblem Engage, so my plate is full. I can't eat another bite. You don't have to send me another meal, but E3 season is around the corner, even without an official show. Like you said, we're probably still going to get presentations. Hopefully not like the Sony one, better ones. But the companies will have their own E3 lights, just basically taking a page out of the Nintendo book with their directs. And we'll still get the information that we like around this time and get our Christmas for gamers that happens every June.
100%. Well, that about does it for today. Thank you very much for listening or watching to the end of the video. Please share your thoughts in a comment, like or dislike, however you feel, and subscribe if you wish to keep up with our gaming news and discussions. Take care, everyone. Stay dandy, and happy gaming.
See ya.
I think I want you to re-record that "see ya" because that was kind of lame. Usually you go like "see ya" or something like you know what I'm saying.
Oh my god! Fine.
Okay.
See ya.
There we go. It's goofy. I like it.